right on the heels of the pandemic. It's like we're almost through a breath of fresh air, and then this is what we're all watching in the news.
Tonight, the warning for President Biden that the world is witnessing the beginning of a Russian invasion in Ukraine.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has told the Russian people he is now recognizing the independence of two separatist regions of Ukraine.
New video shows that Russian tanks are on the move despite the appearance of heavy artillery. Moscow claims that these are just peacekeeping forces.
Russia's amassed more than 150,000 troops around Ukraine's borders.
Who in the Lord's name does Putin think gives him the right to declare new so-called countries on territory that belong to his neighbors?
Russia's military is ready for a full-scale invasion, which could come as soon as tonight.
If Russia chooses to move against any NATO country, they will be met with the full force of American and allied might.
Ukraine's president drafting a state of emergency. President Zelensky said the future of Europe's security is being tested in Ukraine.
The country bracing for a full-blown war. It's no longer a question of if, but when.
Under the cover of darkness, we are beginning to hear a series of explosions. I just wanted to play for you some of what they're hearing in Ukraine now, a few hours before the sun comes up.
Well, as we were putting this story together yesterday, I planned on sort of showing all these different perspectives. Of course, late last night, the bombing began in the Ukraine. Our hearts go out to all of those involved. I'm not here to try and choose sides or even try to fully understand what that interaction, that war as it appears, is all about. But, you know, here it is. Russia declares war, launches attack in Ukraine, explosions reported. But what I do want to ask you right now is, are you like me? Are you saying, boy, you know, nothing would really erase the fact that we are seeing rising death rates all over the world from COVID. We keep reporting on negative efficacy, the fact that the vaccine isn't working. Everyone's got egg on their face. And if you just kind of want to turn the page and move on and maybe save your butt in the next election, a war really would come in handy. Now, I'm not saying, I know people say, are you saying that the United States of America is somehow involved with, you know, goading Russia into a war against Ukraine? No, not necessarily, but I am asking myself, is there something that brings all three of these stories together? Trudeau in Canada, Macron in France beating on their people, and now Putin in Russia starting a war with Ukraine. What, you know, like, what would pull all these things together? That's what was going on in my mind. And then this video came up last week. It's an old video out of 2017, an interview with Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum, something we've talked a lot about. This is the guy that dreams of a future where nobody owns anything, everyone is renting everything. Look what he said are the players that he essentially controls. Listen to their names.
When I mention now names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. But what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
That's true in Argentina as well.
It's true in Argentina, and it's true in France now. Mm-hmm. I'm with the president, who is a young global leader.
Young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. You know, he mentions Trudeau, the president who had just been elected that time, Macron. That's in our pocket. We're filling their cabinets. We've got Putin in our pocket. You know, and so when we sit here and I watch the news saying, our enemy, Russia, you know, I ask ourselves, well, if they are our enemy, certainly those that are controlling them should be our enemy too. But wait, we have a problem because we're taking orders from them too. Remember the Build Back Better plan written by Klaus Schwab, voiced by Trudeau, voiced out of New Zealand, and And, you know, here in the United States of America, Biden himself standing at a podium, Build Back Better, all of our politicians saying, I love Klaus Schwab, so does Putin, so does Macron, so does Trudeau. What is going on here? That's what I'm asking you. What is actually going on here? You know, we keep thinking we have borders, we keep thinking we have enemies, but are we all just pawns in some giant game? This is Putin speaking just this last year at the World Economic Forum event in Davos, Switzerland. You're going to have to read it, so pay attention. I get it. This isn't like any other news channel. I'm not giving you 5 seconds. I want you to really absorb what Putin said to all of his friends in Davos.
Только Клаус вспомнил о том, что мы познакомились в 92 году, и во время работы в Петербурге я действительно неоднократно посещал этот представительный форум, и хочу вас поблагодарить за то, что сегодня есть возможность донести свою точку зрения до экспертного сообщества, которое собирается на этой всемирно признанной площадке, благодаря усилиям господина Шваба. Клаус сейчас упомянул о вчерашнем моем разговоре с президентом Соединенных Штатов и о продлении договора по ограничению стратегических наступательных вооружений. Безусловно, это шаг в правильном направлении. Но, тем не менее, противоречия все-таки закручиваются, что называется, по спирали. Как известно, неспособность и неготовность разрешать подобные проблемы по существу в 20 веке обернулись катастрофой Второй мировой войны. Конечно, сейчас такой глобальный, горячий конфликт, надеюсь, в принципе невозможен. Очень на это надеюсь. Он означал бы конец цивилизации. Но, повторю, ситуация может развиваться непредсказуемо и неуправляемо. Если, конечно, для этого ничего не предпринимать для того, чтобы этого не случилось. Здесь, тем не менее, есть вероятность столкнуться с настоящим срывом в мировом развитии и чреватым борьбой всех против всех. С попытками разрешить назревшие противоречия через поиск внутренних и внешних врагов, с разрушением не только таких традиционных ценностей, а мы в России дорожим этим, как семья, но и базовых свобод, включая право выбора и неприкосновенность частной жизни. Отмечу здесь, что социальный и ценностный кризис уже оборачивается негативными демографическими последствиями, из-за которых человечество рискует потерять целые цивилизационные и культурные материки. Наша общая ответственность сегодня заключается в том, чтобы избежать такой перспективы, похожей на мрачную антиутопию. Обеспечить развитие по иной, позитивной, гармоничной и созидательной траектории.
I mean, incredible as he talks about a dystopian future. I think we're all asking ourselves that question. I don't know. I mean, I am clearly not choosing sides. I don't know what side there is my point. What is happening here? We're all being divided against each other, as the gentleman in Canada says. This isn't who we are. We're coming together, yet they're lying about us. There's wars going on. All of this at a time where we've talked time and time again about the financial destruction of most of the world right now, going into debt. Is this some wag the dog moment? Well, imagine if you decided to ask. This was a question given in the Parliament of Canada just recently, asking about Klaus Schwab and how many of you. He said, remember, he said, we have injected ourselves. We have penetrated the cabinets of many of these nations. You got to wonder how many have been penetrated here in the United States of America. Look what happens when that question is asked in Canada.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I listened to my colleague's speech. I had a constituent that wanted me to ask a question about outside interference to our democracy. Klaus Schwab is the head of the World Economic Forum, and he bragged how his subversive WEF, World Economic Forum, has, quoted, infiltrated governments around the world. He said that his organization had penetrated more than half of Canada's cabinet. And I was wondering, in the interest of transparency, could the member please name which cabinet ministers are on board with the WEF's agenda? My concern is the deputy.
Order. I know that the member was in a really good question there, but the audio is really bad and the video is really bad as well. And I apologize. I don't know if the member. Okay.
I don't know, the audio sounded pretty good to me, but look, I wasn't in the room. Maybe it was legitimate. But for those of you that have gone before these school board meetings, that have gone in front of, the Senate or the congressional hearings like I have, and you see them basically tuned completely out. If they can shut you down or turn off your mic, they do. But it's a really good question. It's a question we should all be asking ourselves in every nation in the world. Will you please tell us how many of yourselves consider yourselves to be young leaders from Davos and the World Economic Forum that plans on making all of us renters around the world with the Great Reset? Is that what's happening? Is Putin bombing Ukraine just another part of the Great Reset? It's certainly a question you should be asking yourself, and I'm going to get deeper into that.
That's okay, we're just, the cattle at the bottom, and we also cattle for the chattel.